Welcome to ProPlays, a series all about trying to break down and learn from the best professional Valorant players to figure out what makes them so successful. This episode features a player from the fan favorite TSM Hazed. During one of his recent streams, I watched him play a game of Cypher on Breeze, and I was surprised how effective he was with this agent. Initially, I was not sure how Cypher would perform on this map, but after watching Hazed use some creative trapwires, cages, and camera placements, I found myself wanting to give Cypher a try on Breeze, and hopefully, you will too. In this video, I want to break down some of the different setups that Hazed used when playing on defense, and then show some of the cameras and traps that he uses on attack to get info and hold the flank for his team. I will leave a link to his stream in the description below. Hazed mostly played towards the A site, and he used a few different trap and camera setups, so let's start by breaking down those different setups. He starts by placing two trap wires. The first is attached to the bottom of the bricks, and the second attached to the side of the rock wall in the pyramid. He then follows up by placing two cages, one on top of his wire, and the other in between the bricks and the front of this pyramid. Finally, he jumps up on top of these boxes and places his camera above the mid doorway. This was my favorite setup that I saw Hazed using, mostly because of how powerful this camera placement and traps are. Most of the time, the enemy team is going to be placing a Viper wall to execute into A site, and this camera is able to see over the top of the wall, getting great info. He also has the ability to get kills through the Viper wall if they walk into his traps on site, or he can tag them with a dart from his camera. Another setup that I saw Hazed use was to hold the A halls with a tripwire, and for him to play A stairs using a camera to spot the cave to know when to pop his one-way cage. He starts by placing a trap wire by the spawn barrier in A halls. Then he places his camera up high so he can see the cave, quickly places another trap wire from indoors, and finally, he places a powerful one-way cage on top of this doorway. To throw this, he positions himself in this corner behind the stairs. Using his crosshair, he looks up at this pipe and finds this indent and then throws. I think it's also important to note how he calms his intentions to his teammates here.
I have a trip on two, but they could open the door. Okay?
Okay.
It's very important for the other A players to know what's being watched and what's not, so they can position accordingly. During one of the rounds on defense, when he thinks the attackers might be trying a B side execute to avoid his traps, he asks one of his teammates to swap with him. First, he sets up the basic cage and trap combo in the B main choke point. Then, he follows this up with a trap wire for the front sight push, and drops another cage on top of it. Next, he hops up onto this ledge and jump places his camera into the top of these bricks by the plants on the wall. This camera allows him to play safely back of sight and watch both the B main and B tunnel choke points at the same time, without exposing himself. In order for an attacker to break this camera, they have to push into the choke point and expose themselves to many different angles. Let's swap over and go over a few things I noticed on the attacking half. On almost all of the attacking rounds, Hazed is placing a trap wire on this choke point flank here. This trap is a must break, and will give intel if a defender has aggressively pushed through the spawn to flank the cave. One of the most interesting camera placements that I learned from watching Hazed is this one for A halls. This camera gives Cypher the ability to immediately spot the metal doors and ping the enemy player, forcing them off the angle and giving your team some early control of this area of the map. This camera can also be used to help Cypher make an individual lurk play up A halls. After your team has taken control of A site and is playing post plant, you can use this camera to hold the cave flank. The next camera placement that I learned from watching Hazed is up here on this water tank. This camera can be placed before the spawn barrier is dropped, and is able to help your team get tons of info about the middle of the map. This camera can be used to not only spot mid-nest and tag an AWPer to force them off the angle, but can be used to hold the flank from cannon, and even spot the rotates coming in from mid.
Oh, we're throwing it.
Nothing. One mid, rotating from A. Two rotating. They're leaving A. They're literally leaving.
Yeah, they're
Getting all of this info from a free ability is super powerful, and this camera placement really shows how helpful a Cypher can be on this map when compared to other Sentinels. Hazed is able to combine the intel from this camera with good use of his cages to help his team take control of mid on Breeze. He starts by first using his camera to get info, and then pushes mid using a cage to block the mid doors, and follows up with a tripwire to hold his back as he pushes further up towards the nest to split B with his team. He then uses his other cage to help his team cross into B tunnel safely. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about Cypher on Breeze. If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel.
He's out mid again.
I post videos every Tuesday and alternate between gameplay videos, highlights, and guides like this. I also stream on Twitch a few times a week at twitch.tv/steepsteps, so make sure to come by and say hi.